Boy, we got a win for those Seahawks, baby. I know Matt's fired up, and even though we're coming off a loss on the Viking side of things, I'm still fired up for my buddy Matt. His Seahawks got a win, beat those Lions. NFC North teams all lose this week, so thank you, Matt, for your Seahawks winning. Your team looked great out there, man. How'd you feel about that game?
Uh, if last week was anything to show my confidence, I did not feel confident about the game at all. But only to have Geno Smith sacked once and officially hit once the whole game with two backup tackles. Aiden Hutchinson didn't really impact the game as much as we originally thought. Kenneth Walker still had a decent game. Only 43 yards, but still two TDs. Geno Smith, other than that final play of regulation or final offensive play of regulation for the Seahawks with a really long sack on third down, um, he played great. Metcalf got 6 catches, 75 yards for their leading receiver, but really that game was more Tyler Lockett just having himself a day with two TDs as well. Um, so offense showed up. Defense, yeah, they still gave up 31 points, but with the pick six and two other fumbles to keep the offense in the game when at times the offense had kind of like fallen asleep. Just the defense coming in and getting it started back up again, especially in the second half where we get the fumble and give the offense a short field for um, Tyler Lockett's first, actually no, Kenneth Walker's touchdown. But it was a great game. I know Lions fans aren't happy with the final play of the overtime where they think um, there was a holding. I think it was on Aiden Hutchinson where our offensive lineman was holding him apparently in air quotes. Um, but great game. Detroit kind of had the injury bug. Good amount of their offensive players were at least banged up at some part of the game, and then um, Jared Goff, the amount of passes without an interception streak ended. Just great win for the Seahawks. I can't complain about it, and hopefully, when we compare last week to the or week one to week two, this is the version of the Seahawks we're getting this year instead of the one against the Rams. So, no complaints.
There you go. I mean, yeah, I mean, going into overtime and getting the win, like high scoring game, that must have been a thriller game to watch for your team. So, definitely glad you guys got it done and glad you got to experience that and hope that is the way the Seahawks go this year. Yeah, I mean, we said last week that if either of our teams won because our confidence levels were so low that we'd go on here and celebrate with each other. So that's what I'm doing with you, man. I'm glad you guys are finding the groove. It seems like it, like you said, down two left tackles. It's hard to do that, and Tyler Lockett's health being questionable at times. Just glad that he's able to get out there and still be that threat as a receiver and is able to see the light of the field. So I mean, that's great for you guys. I hope it keeps rolling. So seems like you guys passed the injury bug over to the Lions. So I
Yeah.
wonder if it's just going to keep getting passed from different teams. Um, but yeah, I mean, definitely a great win for you guys, and definitely I think that's gonna make a lot of Lions fans kind of come back into the realm of Earth and kind of just remember that they are still the Lions. They're better than they have been in probably over a decade, if not two. But
It's still a pretty young team.
it's a very young team. They're still fallible.
And
So
I think Lions fans had to realize when you face the Chiefs, yeah, it was a great win for them, like we said, but there was still a
uh,
couple injuries especially on that Kansas City offense with Travis Kelce and then without Chris Jones, I believe.
right,
On
yeah. Chris
um,
Jones, to be fair, was on a holdout, but yeah, I
well,
mean
yeah,
not. But without those two guys, and then with their receivers not knowing how to catch a football, definitely does
and Kadarius Toney
make it
decided
easier.
to just forget how to play football and decided, well, you can have this pick six. I don't
Yeah.
want. So
he and Sky Moore combined for like 7 drops, I believe. So
It was stupid, man. But onto a more sour note, especially for you. Is there anything you want to talk about with that Eagles game other than the four
I
fumbles?
I mean, I still even if we had won that game, I still wouldn't know if we were good or bad. I mean, like the fact that we turned the ball over 4 times, which is one more time than we did in the Buccaneers game, and it's against a much tougher opponent, at least in terms of how things shook up last year in the Eagles. And the fact that we still made it a one-score game, I had, like I said, my expectations were to do a little bit better than 24-7, which is what happened last year in Philly in week 2. So I mean, I was thinking like 24-13 or somewhere around those lines. Like it would be a two-score game instead of a three-score game. But I wasn't expecting that. Like in only 21 minutes of football, Kirk Cousins put up 28 points and no interceptions. That's pretty dang good. Like our passing attack, there is nothing wrong with our passing attack except of course the offensive line, which granted, even they held the Eagles defense to 2 sacks, one of which obviously led to a turnover, but I mean, I'm not going to put that one on Kirk because I mean, you get a blind rusher who you think is at least going to be stalled by one of your blockers. Uh, and makes a great play and knocks the ball out of his hands. I don't really put that on him. It was a huge momentum shift, but I don't really, blame that on Kirk. It's what it's going to happen with our offensive line, and I think that's why we went and signed Dalton Risner yesterday, which is a great thing. I know Vikings fans all over the nation have been pining for management to go out and sign him or make any moves at all regarding the offensive line because that is the only weakness in our offense. Kirk Cousins, if protected, is a very lethal quarterback. That's a big if, though. He has to be protected and has to be given time. But when he is, he can pick you apart, as shown with that Eagles game. Um, also did it with against the Bills and plenty of other teams last year. So uh, it's not just a one-time thing. Uh, so I mean, looking overall at the team, like we have a great passing offense. Obviously, we don't have the personnel on defense to be able to be a legit defense, but I love what Brian Flores is scheming up because he made Jalen Hurts confused that entire second half, or sorry, the entire first half. Even got our first turnover of the season. Um, and we stifled the run game pretty well for a quarter and a half, and then DeAndre Swift proceeded to just gash us the rest of the game. But for the first quarter and a half, people were probably turning off their TV or watching another sports game of some sort because it was 3-0 for the longest time. Uh, and people were probably too bored watching the defensive battle. And then very quickly it turned into an offensive battle after the Eagles put up a bunch of points and then decided to let us crawl back in it. So I mean, again, it's hard to tell how much of it is on the Vikings and how much of it is on the Eagles because when the Eagles only sack Kirk Cousins twice and the Vikings sack Jalen Hurts 4 times, I don't know what to make of that because they have arguably one of the best offensive lines in the league. Our defensive line is not that great outside of Daniil Hunter, who did get 3 of those 4 sacks, so I guess that does make sense. Um, but I mean, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like those numbers should definitely be flip flopped, and Kirk Cousins should have been sacked a ton of times. But uh, they props to Kevin O'Connell and whoever was scheming up Kirk Cousins to get mobile and do rollouts, bootlegs, and all that type of stuff to get out of the pressure. So get the ball out of his hands quick. I really liked what we did. We showed improvement despite fumbles. So if we can just stop turning the ball over, I really think that we can be in these games and win them. I don't even have to say be in these games because where we are in these, we were in both of these games that we lost. But if we don't turn it over, maybe we come out with a win. So it'll be interesting to see how a game goes if we don't turn it over, or maybe we only have one turnover. Uh, that would definitely be an interesting thing to see, and that's what I'm definitely hoping for looking forward. We've had since Thursday, so we have like a kind of mini bye week in with that. So hopefully they did at least maybe 1 or 2 days of just practicing holding on to the football. Uh, which
Maybe
it
running the
seems,
football.
yeah. I mean, again, well, see, that's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I mean, that was a problem over the past week too. Alexander Madison has received, hateful comments and things of that nature for his fumble and apparently poor rushing performance. It's mainly from fantasy owners. And I just want to remind everybody that, fantasy football is meant to be a fun game, for you guys to be able to try and predict who's going to do well and who's not going to do well and what type of games. Like it's all about how offenses match up against defenses and things of that nature. You guys got to stop taking it so seriously, because there were comments telling him to commit suicide and things of that nature, along with racial slurs, and that's just not what this game is about. That's not what we're trying to promote here. So I would just encourage you that if you ever had those thoughts, or were taking the action that way, to just figure out what to do, or maybe don't get yourself involved in any bets or fantasy leagues, so that way you aren't looking at players with such disdain, like some people were for Alexander Madison. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to get the run game established with the offensive line we have. I mean, all of our offensive anything on offense we look at is, you know, it's look back to the offensive line. I mean, we granted we have had to go up against the Buccaneers defense and the Eagles defense, which are arguably two of the best defenses in the league. We'll face the 49ers in a few weeks too, so honestly, it looks like the Vikings just go up against the best defenses, or at least the best defensive fronts in the game, minus Washington's. So, I mean,
Washington
it'll be
still has a
interesting to
decent front as well.
yeah, that's what I said. We don't play Washington this year. So aside from Washington, we're gonna face all of the best
Oh, I'm
defensive
thinking
fronts.
something else. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we played the Buccaneers, we played the Eagles, we will face the Niners. We're gonna face all these fronts that have uh can go tear you apart. I mean, we won't face Dallas either, so I guess there's two more. But Dallas is just great all around defensively. Of course, we'll talk about that later. But it'll be interesting. We have a matchup against the Chargers and then the Panthers. So these next 2 weeks, we're not looking at like these heavily daunting defensive fronts. Like they are, of course. I think they're still decent, but they're not, top 10, top five like the Buccaneers and Eagles. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Perhaps there's a run game that will able to be established. Um, so that'll be interesting. But I'm just glad we're finally addressing the offensive line. It looks like. And defensively, I mean, we gotta sign somebody else to be in the middle and possibly make some 4-3 looks instead of 3-4. Because if we continue playing in this 3-4 defense, I get that Flores loves his safeties, but these running backs are going to get too many yards up the middle anytime they need it. And even with the Tampa Bay game, they did not rush for much. We held the whole team to under 100 yards rushing, but it was the fact that they were able to consistently get first downs while running the football that really did us in that fourth quarter. So we really need to be able to have a defensive set to where our prime directive is to stop the run. I feel like most of what Flores does is scheming up plays to make the big play happen, as in get a sack or never give up the deep ball, which is all well and good, but we got to have somebody stop the run. And I think that comes with signing somebody like Akeem Hicks or Linval Joseph or somebody else who's out there in free agency. Other than that, like I said, I love how the passing game of the offense is going. I love that no matter what, it feels like we're still in the game uh, for our offense. And I love what he's doing, what Brian Flores is doing defensively with his schemes. Like I said, when you can make Jalen Hurts look confused for the first half and throw a pick, that's that's awesome in my book. So uh, overall, I expected a much worse loss. So 1 score game in Philly, I'll take it. And honestly, it looks like we're getting better minus the fumbles. So I mean, if we stop turning the ball over, let's see how the Vikings do. But with that, I think we're gonna move over to just general reactions to week two. There's got to be some record for injuries. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
No,
No.
I know the past few years we haven't seen as many, I wouldn't even say as big names, but just like we haven't seen like an Aaron Rodgers or Nick Chubb go out, but there's still been like tons of injuries in the beginning few weeks of like these past few years.
But I don't think they've all been ending injuries like these guys have.
That's fair, but
Like we have so many guys who are out for the entire season on like we've got at least 10, 15, 20 guys that are out for the whole season already, and it's only the end of week two.
I think you might have those. It's just not as big of names getting these season injury ending injuries like Aaron Rodgers and Nick Chubb,
Right. Right.
which that loss for the Browns that basically tanks the rest of their season away.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely was, you know, having Nick Chubb in the game, that's the focal point of their offense. So I mean, they should have won that game had they had Chubb. I bet he would have rushed down the fourth quarter, as the announcers were saying. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were saying in the booth that he tends to get going in the fourth quarter, because he keeps on running down their throats and he wears out the defense. So I mean, had they had him there, they probably would have pulled that game out.
Well,
But
especially since they wouldn't be fumbling as many times as they did
exactly,
with TJ
yeah,
Watt just taking a touchdown or
exactly.
a score.
The Browns got to rely. Deshaun Watson has to return to form, or the Browns season is over. I mean,
He does not look good.
the defense is great. Cleveland's defense has really surprised me. That could also just be the ineptitude of the Steelers' offense, but the Browns did play the Bengals before, so I mean, but that was also in the rain. So it's really what can you make of it? But so far through two games, the Cleveland Browns defense has looked great. So if they
They
can
really only
stay
gave
at
up
this
13 points
exactly. Yeah, because they had a pick six. So
and the
uh
scoop and score.
and the scoop and score. Yeah. So I mean, when you look at those things, the defense is doing its job more than enough. So I mean, if they can stay where they are and Deshaun Watson can return to form at least like 70% of what he was when he was in Houston, I'd say they have a chance. But man, he has not looked good. Uh, I don't even know what it is either, because like he can still make the throws. His arm looks great. It's just he seems rattled really easily by any defensive look, and he seems like he just can't get that accuracy down when he's on the run like he used to. So I don't know how he corrects that. I don't know if that comes with time. I mean,
Because even
that's just what
Amari
I've
Cooper
seen.
was still there for that game.
Amari Cooper was what now?
Amari Cooper did play in that game.
He did. Yes. There was skepticism on whether or not he'd play, and he did play.
I don't know if wasn't DeAndre Hopkins there for a few years with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has something to do with it. But then you had like that year or so where it was just Deshaun Watson. He was a part of me thinks is the Texans were such a bad team. Deshaun Watson was good enough where he looks so much better than the rest of the team.
Right.
Now we see the difference isn't as wide and he's not that great.
And you may have also seen with the Texans that, they didn't have the defense to keep up with everybody else after JJ Watt left and they lost a lot of their other key players. So they had to score on you in order to do well. And that meant passing the football because
Yeah,
they didn't have Damian Pierce back then. So I think you
that's
saw
fair.
Deshaun Watson probably throwing at least 50 times a game. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me. I don't really know exactly which year that would be, probably 2020, 2021. But he I'd imagine he was throwing the ball all over the yard and it wasn't run plays. Whereas, in Cleveland, their main thing was to hand the ball off to Chubb. So I think you're gonna see a transition to maybe they're gonna see, hey, Deshaun Watson, we're gonna give you opportunities to get back to form. We're gonna let you throw the ball this many times a game. So don't feel like you have to get it all in one play. Take the check downs, take the ins, the outs, just take the short little boop and bop plays, and just get yourself comfortable. And maybe they find the groove. Maybe they do. Not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying so far it doesn't look good. but
And we'll see if we
that
get
comes
to
with playing in
Russell
the rain against
Wilson.
Steelers defense.
And we'll see if we get to Russell Wilson later. But I know a part of it, Deshaun Watson, when he was younger, a lot of it was rolling out of the pocket and making plays out of nothing. And I
Mm.
wonder if just over the past few years he's lost a little bit of that speed.
Yeah, like he's avoiding 3 out of 4 rushers now. Like I saw it at least 2 or 3 times last night where I was looking at him trying to escape sacks, and he would get out of 3 of the 4 guys, and it was always that fourth guy who came in that would bring him down as he's trying to maneuver around the pocket. And I'm wondering, like, did the Steelers just have great coverage when every time he was trying to do that downfield, or is he just slow enough to where that fourth guy can get there? And that's what I'm saying. I think it'll be interesting when they don't play in the rain in Cleveland and they don't play
For once.
in against the Steelers defense in at Heinz Field or whatever they're calling that stadium now. Um
Or has the league just
so
wisened up?
yeah,
Because everyone's
yeah,
trying to beat the Chiefs now, so everyone's trying to look out for the scrambling quarterback. I think we can both agree Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, at least Russell Wilson right now, isn't as great as Patrick Mahomes is. So
no, absolutely not.
those defenses know what to do against a scrambling quarterback. So one, you're able to contain better. Um, I know when Russell Wilson, honestly, I'm going to start saying he's when he was in his prime, defenses would just have fits trying to keep contained, but they're keeping contained a lot better now. Now we'll see um, these next few weeks if because Washington has a decent defensive line, so they were able to keep that in check.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's also
Now
just
I
the
will say to
health
preface
of
this
teams.
that oh sorry, what were you gonna say?
Then you can go.
I was gonna say to preface this, I don't count Fields and Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts to be in the scrambling quarterbacks category. I count them as more running quarterbacks, in the sense that they can just, if they do an RPO, they can hang on to the ball, and if they see the option, they can just run. They could get you 75 yards and a touchdown if they wanted to.
I would not
Um,
have Herbert in that category, but continue.
Scrambling. Wait, no, I didn't say Herbert. I said Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Fields.
Okay, never mind. I thought you said
Yeah,
Herbert. My bad.
those are running quarterbacks. The only two scramblers that I would consider to be the best at what they do, you have Mahomes, and you have the other guy in Aaron Rodgers who isn't playing for the rest of the season. And granted, he wasn't
Mm,
as good as he used to be, but if
he's
you look at
lost a
him in his
step.
prime, those are the two best scrambling quarterbacks that you and I have seen in our lifetimes.
I would have
I would
said
argue.
Russell's better than Rodgers on scrambling, but to me, Rodgers is more of a stay in the pocket, but he can escape trouble if he needs to. Russell Wilson is a pure scrambling quarterback making something out of nothing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I haven't seen enough of it to be credit. I did have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year, so um, it was something I saw quite often where he kept every. It seemed that he kept every play alive and moved around the pocket all around. So and would just make those Hail Mary passes. I mean, they called him the Hail Mary King for a reason. So um, but but yeah, I'd say those two are just below Mahomes in terms of their prime because I think Mahomes just has figured out a way to do it better. I don't know.
Well, it's just it's all like circus throws with Mahomes where he's going to do something at least once to twice a game that you're not expecting, and it's going to go for a big play.
Right.
I feel like those are usually like on third, fourth downs where it's just a huge momentum killer for a defense and the opposing team,
Exactly.
especially
Yeah.
in the
I mean,
playoffs.
definitely a game changer. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, you hate to see, injuries are just piling up and they're the thing about them, most of these are season ending. Like You got a few guys going on IR, like
for
a
the
few of the
player
Lions
and the
players.
team.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, Nick Chubb going out is just bad for the league too. Just like Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Yeah,
people when they watch the Browns, they want to see Nick Chubb. When they watch the Jets, they wanted to see Aaron Rodgers. Not only just because he's a new team, but because he's a great quarterback. So, I mean, having guys like that out for the season is just not good for football.
because I
So,
know Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley both got. I think Saquon's out for a couple weeks, if I remember
I think they're
correctly.
both actually week to week. So we'll see how long they both
But
are
that's
out for.
also bad for football. The Giants need as much help as they can get right now. Not sure if we'll talk about them, but going down 60 to nothing in 6 quarters, and now you just lost your best offensive weapon. That
Yeah. Well,
is
no,
danger
they
for
still have
this.
Daniel Jones, the guy they paid all that money to.
No,
Daniel Jones isn't hurt.
stop. No. You're funny, but no.
Dude, I just that's another reason why the Chubb injury just irks me so much is because like here we are in the midst of the running back controversy with the league, and there goes one of the best backs for the whole season, which doesn't help their case because the shelf life just isn't that long for a running back. But the risks that they take are so great, they deserve to be paid.
Well,
But
speaking of the running
that
backs,
doesn't
you see what the NFL is now accusing the Players Association with?
I've not seen it, no.
Basically, they're accusing the Players Association of telling running backs to either, um, I'm not sure if it was fake, but like exaggerate injuries.
Huh. Well, I don't know if I've seen that this season, but I can assure you that Nick Chubb's injury was not exaggerated. Um, heck, they wouldn't even show it on the TV broadcast.
Which I'm not saying they are. It
Um,
was just an interesting thing to see when you had J.K. Dobbins, um,
yeah,
Nick Chubb both go out with season-ending injuries. I know Kenneth Walker's been having some injury issues starting the year.
right.
You have Saquon Barkley, who he's been injured his whole career, so I'm not going to really act like this is anything new.
Right.
Trying to think of anybody else. Oh, what's his? David Montgomery got injured on Sunday for Detroit. I'm not. I think he got
Yeah.
knocked off, so we'll see what happens with
And
him.
Jamal Williams pulled his hamstring in the Saints game against Carolina. So I think he's out for a couple weeks, I believe.
So those
Um
running back injuries are starting to pile up.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if it'd be interesting to look at with the Players Association. I mean, the accusation. I mean, I understand with the ongoing, argument with the league and everything, but I would hate to think that guys are taking themselves out of the game to
And which it
essentially
might
make a
just be
point.
a thing
So,
where these injuries are just piling up just because injuries pile up, and more of the NFL Players Association just said, "Hey, do this," and it's just
right.
kind of a coincidence that this is happening.
Yeah, and it probably is. I just, man, it's season-ending injuries in week 1 and 2 is just I don't know why it's just hitting me this year, but it just seems like this is the most I've seen season-ending injury-wise in the first 2 weeks.
I think a
But
part of it is also with the teams that they're happening to. Like the Jets were one of the biggest storylines going into this year. Done.
right, yeah,
Cleveland was a big mystery. Done.
yeah. For first
Um,
off season for Deshaun Watson. So, um,
you have the Ravens, who we thought were going to start being one of those teams, which they still might, but now with Odell Beckham and J.K. Dobbins both out, J.K. Dobbins we know for the year. We'll see what happens with Odell if he's able to come back. Which, if it's week to week, he will come back at some point. But
right,
that hurts them. Joe Burrow, who tweaked his calf again, and I'm starting to get worried. We're about to see another Aaron Rodgers where we might see Joe Burrow go down on a hit out for the year. Um,
Yeah.
those calf injuries aren't anything to play with, and I really, really, really feel like the Bengals brought him back too quickly. Honestly, if they had
Yeah.
taken him
Yeah.
out, you would have given him 2 weeks extra rest, and you probably have the same record.
Yeah, the problem is that with a guy like Joe Burrow is it even if he's not 100% ready, he's going to tell you he's ready and he's going to go in, and that's a problem because you got to keep him healthy for the long haul because that's he's your ticket to winning. And I get it. He wants to compete because believe me, we got a guy just like him who's closely related to him and Justin Jefferson. They won the Natty together. Um, so I mean, they both have that same mindset. They're going to play regardless. If they're able to play on the field, they're going to play. But if Justin Jefferson was in danger of hurting anything, I wouldn't want him on the field. Um, as in like if he had pulled his calf or something and was in danger of getting a serious injury, of retweaking it and everything. Um, so I think that's a danger, especially when you just paid him that huge contract, Joe Burrow. You know, Aaron Rodgers just got paid, and there's a huge trade deal with a lot of draft capital at stake. I think it's those types of things where you look at those types of storylines and you're like, man, these large contracts are essentially having the year one of them just going down the drain because or at least with Aaron Rodgers it's down the drain. With Joe Burrow, we don't know yet, but
Because even like the
uh,
Rams, we thought they were going to come out basically in the mud starting the season without Cooper Cup, but they got lucky on their draft pick. I can never
oh
get, I
yeah,
don't remember the person's name, but the rookie they
it's
drafted.
uh it's Puka Nakua, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I was gonna transfer us so we don't go too long. As we
Yes, sir.
promised the viewers, we don't want to go too long with each video, so we want to end on a high note for sure. I was gonna touch on some rookies that have stood out to us. So I guess we can go back and forth until we one out of rookies, maybe do about 6 to 8 rookies. Um, uh, with that, I think we can both agree Puka Nakua is doing amazing. I think he's the best rookie receiver in general right now.
Other
Um,
than Zay Flowers, but yeah,
no, I mean Jordan Addison's better than Zay Flowers so far in terms of production.
we'll see what
So
happens now that Odell's down.
I mean, yeah, well, I guess that's a fair point, but I'm not. I wouldn't say my retort because I don't want to lose Jefferson. So, um, but in terms of how it's gone so far, Puka Nakua has surprised everybody.
Yeah,
I believe he was undrafted. If not, he was a late round draft pick, and he's
I think he
popping
was late
off.
rounds.
He is Matthew Stafford's favorite target, uh, and rightfully so. He's doing everything he needs to be doing. He's helping the Rams stay competitive. I mean, one score game with the Niners is amazing. Um,
Had what, 25 catches in 2 weeks?
yeah, 25 catches in 2 weeks, a couple touchdowns, I believe. Or was it no touchdowns? He's had a ton of yards. I can't remember if he had any
Yeah,
touchdowns, but
ton of catches though. That main
but
point.
uh, but yeah, he broke the rookie reception record for 2 games. I believe it was, yeah. Um, so yeah, props to him. I gotta give Jordan Addison some love for the Vikings just because, like, out of the first round receivers in terms of production, he has done the best. Um, he's got 130 something yards, I believe, and 2 touchdowns over 2 games, a touchdown in each game. So I mean, in terms of production, he's doing really well. Zay Flowers, I don't think is too far behind him in yards, but he doesn't have any touchdowns yet. Um, JSN is more of a project wide receiver, I believe
Yeah,
you talked about, and then Quentin Johnson had 1 catch last week, so I think they're still trying to get him into the fold because Keenan Allen is still healthy, and they've got their tight end, and um uh they've got a ton of weapons on that offense. And
he's still
obviously
lower on
Austin
that
Eckler.
depth chart.
So exactly, so so he's going to be a little bit tougher to get started than some of the other guys, but I just got to give props because everybody seems to be forgetting about Jordan Addison on the Vikings because everybody wants to talk about JJ, obviously, and rightfully so, best receiver in the league. They talk about TJ Hawkinson because he's the second target for Kirk Cousins, and they talk about KJ Osborne, who's the who was the wide receiver 3 last year, and everybody expected to make the jump. Um, but I think you got to start looking at Jordan Addison and being like, this dude has put up a touchdown in each game. He's making good yardage. Every time he catches the ball, something good seems to happen. Like every time I see him catch the ball, it's either the touchdowns that he's caught, because that's 2 of his 7 catches, and then or it's he's catching a first down or making a big play down the field to get us into field goal range or something of that nature. Because he has those 130 something yards on 7 targets. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Um, so I just would love to see him get the ball more. And then some rookies that have stood out to you.
Well, going down my Seahawks list right now, I know Devin Witherspoon had his debut on Sunday. Kind of had a rough debut. I know he got beat on one flea flicker, but hopefully he'll grow into it. A little worried about Tyreek Woolen and that injury, but going on. Anthony Richardson's been playing pretty well starting off the year. Only
Oh
real
yeah,
worry is that this is now 2 out of 2 games that he was not able to finish in. This game it was a concussion. Um,
right.
I worry if that starts to become a trend where this is a project guy that's just not able to stay healthy, like a Carson Wentz or something like that. Because he's out of like I think we both agree that out of all the quarterbacks so far, he's played the best and had the most success so far. Like
Yeah, we
start,
both predicted him to be the best out of the first round quarterbacks, and he hasn't let us down. Um, I wonder if it's similar to the Justin Fields project last year, or even his rookie year, where they kind of just were like putting him out there with a bad O line and not many weapons, and being like, hey, see what you can do. Except this time, he's got Michael Pittman, he's got a few weapons to throw to. Um, so I mean, maybe this is his prove it year, and then next year the Colts will focus on building a roster around him. Uh, but I mean, I think so far through 2 games, he has more than proven enough that he is the Colts' next guy. And I know that for the past several years they've been struggling to find a
yeah.
quarterback since Andrew Luck left. So I mean, it's great for that organization. It's just I would. It's not many times that I say that in terms of what I'm about to say, but I would hope that the Colts actually listen to their fans in terms of what they want to do with Richardson, because you know if you let him keep playing as recklessly, I don't know if that's the right word, but I mean,
It's
telling him
one of
to
those
to
things
make the
like
play every
Josh
time he can.
Allen.
Yeah, exactly. If he keeps playing like that, you risk his injury, but you can also see everything the guy can do. Or you tell him like, do the best you can while staying in the pocket, maybe get a first down here and there with your legs. Uh, but let us get your roster next year. If he proves it for the first several games, I'd say listen to your fans about what they want to do with them, because I mean, this could be your quarterback of the future right here. And if you get him hurt, your fans are not going to like it. They've had to deal with the QB carousel for several years, and that's not fun.
But
Um,
getting back to the rookies real
yeah,
quick. I know Bijan Robinson for Atlanta was having a decent game against the Packers, especially once he got in the fourth quarter where that offense started getting rolling and he just kept running and running the football down the Packers' throat. I know you liked that. Um,
I love that. You like that? I love that, Kirk. Sorry, my
uh,
Vikings bias is showing.
it's kind of hard to really judge like the defensive players because it's not like an offensive player rookie where we can actually see like those plays being made. A defense is more of a unit, unless they're getting like picks or strip sacks or fumbles or whatever on defense. It's really hard to point out a specific rookie on defense that's having a impact so far, especially the teams that did get rookie defensive players. Either they're more for depth or the team's just still not that good. Like forgot what his name, the Alabama defensive player that the Texans got. What is it, Willie
Will
Anderson?
Anderson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I just really haven't heard anything out of that just because the Texans have not played well, and I don't really think he's going to have a chance to really shine this year just because the unit's that bad.
Right. Yeah. I got two more rookies, and then I think we'll wrap it up here. Um, Jalen Carter on the Eagles. He
That's
is
right.
a
Yeah.
game. He's a game wrecker. He's making his presence known, and it's hard to do when they've got so many guys up front, even in the rotation that they have that can make plays. So the fact that he's able to make a name for himself as quickly as he has in week one, and then a little bit in week two as well, um, that's great to see from him. The Eagles are basically the Georgia Bulldogs in of the NFL at this point because they just keep taking their roster.
Yeah.
So um, so I mean, but hey, it seems to be working out for them so far because they just went to the Super Bowl last year and Georgia keeps winning national championships. So I mean, I guess it's not bad to draft guys that win. I mean, look at Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. They all won the national championship, and there they are, two of the best wide receivers in the league and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I mean,
One
definitely
still
doesn't
has
hurt to
not
do
gone
that.
to the Super Bowl, though.
What was that?
One has still not gone to a Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, that's more of a team issue, though. Um, I mean, they probably won't until we're all dead. So, but yeah, and then well, I'm glad you mentioned that though. That team is the Minnesota Vikings, and the last rookie I want to bring up is Ivan Pace Jr. This guy was undrafted, former Cincinnati Bearcat. He has a 43% pass rush win rate as a linebacker.
Jesus.
And this guy is a smaller dude as well, but
It's like a Bobby.
he is winning on like he's not a hand in the dirt off ball linebacker like Daniil Hunter. Like he's an actual like Fred Warner linebacker. Like he's not um and I just mean to diversify the position. I'm not saying he's Fred Warner. Um but the fact that the reason why he went undrafted, I believe, was because of his size, because he's not as big as you'd like most linebackers to be. But 43% pass rush win rate is insane. He is, and I see it every game. We played against Jalen Hurts. He's just that close to getting to him every single down. Like it seems like every single time Jalen Hurts would try to drop back and look for someone downfield, Ivan Pace was in his face after a couple seconds. And I just love what I'm seeing out of that guy. He's making a ton of tackles. Uh, and he just always seems to be where the ball is. He's finished off a lot of plays. He got his first half sack in his last game against Jalen Hurts. So I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing out of that guy. I still can't believe he went undrafted. Just got to give him some love because I feel like the undrafted guys don't get love a lot of the times. And now that we don't have Adam Thielen on our team anymore, we need another undrafted guy that we can root for, and this is our guy. So this is our new Adam Thielen, and it's only right that he's on the defensive side of the ball, not the offensive side, so we can flip flop each year. But with that being said, I'm done with the rookie breakdown. We obviously went through the major injuries in each of our games, major games throughout the league. The Dolphins continue to show their passing dominance. Looked a little bit more rough this week, but they still come out with the win. Um, you Cowboys continue to be dominant. The 49ers obviously continue there. The Steelers get the win, but it was really just their defense. Their offense is who not really sure there.
Still rough.
Um, huh?
Still rough.
Still rough, yeah. The Packers pulled the Falcons, which is amazing. I love that they choked that game away. Um, and the Bears are 0-2, which I mean it's great because they're an NFC North rival. There's three teams in the NFC South that are undefeated: the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks. And I don't think either of us saw that coming. Um, so that's definitely something interesting to see, and the Commanders as well. I picked the upset partially because I thought it would be funny if the Broncos lost again, because that would put them more into panic mode. But I also was thinking how much I like Sam Howell and that defense for Washington, so I was like, I don't feel bad in picking them. what do you know? They win the game and now they're undefeated. So,
Should have been a
man,
pass interference on the 2-point conversion, but continue.
yeah, I mean, granted, the game would have gone into overtime, so we don't know what would have happened, uh, but they put up
Still,
35 points in Denver against Denver's defense. That's nothing to sneeze at either, especially with Sam Howell playing like his first game or the first year as a definitive starter, only having one other start under his belt besides week one. Um, because he played that final game last year and that was it. So, I mean, for him to come out and do that against Denver's defense, hats off to him. Um, Overall, I'm surprised that the Titans Chargers game. Very surprised about that one. Um,
I'm not really.
but
Brandon
other
60
than that, I think
sucks.
that's for sure. That's for sure. Other than that, I really don't think I have anything else to say about what surprised me. Did anything else stand out to you?
Bengals suck, maybe.
Yeah, and that's are they gonna rest Joe Burrow? That's the question moving forward. Um,
And then
I think that
Bills.
does it for our takes. So
Well, Bills had a bounce back game. They actually knew how to run the ball for once. Um,
yeah, that's
Rams
true.
kept it close. Giants. Ugh, that's going to be a rough season. Other than
Yeah,
that,
if we were talking panic buttons last game or last week rather, uh, it might be time for the Giants to at least have the button nearby at
the
the
hand
very
is hovering over it.
yeah. I think you're kind of like you kind of wake up in the middle of the night after a nightmare. You check to see if the button's still right next to you, and then you see it, and you're like, "Oh, thank goodness, it's still there." Okay,
And that
you know.
nightmare is being down by 20 something to the Cardinals.
Yeah, or getting blown out 40-0 by the Cowboys. Take your pick.
Well,
I mean,
that's one
you
thing.
know.
It's one thing to
Um
be losing to the Cardinal or the
yeah,
Cowboys.
I
It's
will
a
say it's probably the
completely
Cardinals though. Yeah. Because that's not a team you expect to be losing by. But then again, they pulled the Vikings in a way because we were down 33 points to the Colts last year and then come back to win the whole thing. So, but being down 20 is a lot different than being down 33.
yeah.
So, and the
But still
Cardinals
going
are
oh
not the Colts.
being outscored 60 to nothing in 6 quarters. If they have another bad performance and can't pull something out this week,
Hmm.
that hand is right at the button.
Yeah, and
Not
all I've got to
pressing
say
it.
now is that if anybody wants to bring up point differential like everybody seemed to last year with the Vikings, I'd love it because nobody is talking about point differential with any teams. Philadelphia has a small point differential with their 2 wins. So if they lose anytime soon, they could have a negative point differential with their winning record.
Tyler, it's
So
week two.
I just like to put that out there though, that as soon as we seem to get wins last year, everybody was talking about our point differential. So I just want to put it was just after the lost the Eagles too.
Well, do you want to talk
Uh,
about your point differential now?
so well, our point differential doesn't matter. We're 0-2.
Yeah, you're -9.
Yeah, which is not bad. Look at the Giants' point differential. They're 1-1 and they have a worse point differential than us.
Can we talk about how
They have what?
Denver's
They have triple our point differential actually, right?
hold on. Denver is 0-2 with a
Yep.
-3 point differential.
Yeah, they lost close games. That's for sure.
Giants have a -37. Las Vegas has -27. Pittsburgh
Yep.
-19. Jets -14. Giant or Dallas has +60.
Yep. Yeah. You're definitely seeing it now. I was just saying that again, it's probably not the Vikings year. I don't really see us doing anything crazy crazy, especially with this schedule. You know, that's the downside to finishing first in your division is you got to play the best teams around the league. So I don't see that happening, but I just wanted to. I felt it was fair that since everybody wanted to call out the Vikings last year for point differential, that whichever teams have bad point differentials and winning records this year, we should probably do that. Because it just seemed like that had never been a statistic ever brought up for that. So, but anyway, that's our recap of week 2. Uh, overall, just a lot of injuries, but football seems to be slowly getting better. Looking for less turnovers, less mistakes, less throwing the ball away, and
Less
everything like
injuries.
that. And hopefully overall less injuries. Yeah, we hope that eventually these injuries got to come to a stop. Uh, at least if they got to still happen, just have them be a week or two. Like these season-ending injuries are really piling up, and I just hope these guys come back better than ever next year. But to see it happen this early, it just makes us worry about the rest of the year going forward because it's just you keep playing more contact sports week in and week out. So hopefully they get better. Hopefully training staff start to realize what they need to do better to keep their guys rejuvenated and everything throughout each game. So just don't ask Deshaun Watson's advice for how to do that. Um,
Tyler.
but
Good God.
All right. Well, with that, that's the end of VHawks podcast, week 2 review. Stay tuned for our week 3 predictions. Uh, that should be an exciting video to come out very soon. So until then, we will see you then.
Peace.